Hello, this is Tracy. I'm calling from GoBeba. We received your order for 13 kg.
If we can build something that, first of all, delivers a service that people really need and solves a real problem, and two, that helps as part of that journey build the next generation of leaders that can also become entrepreneurs, and then three, scales to some level and helps return capital back to investors, then we'll have set the foundations of an environment where enterprise building by Kenyans, by Africans, becomes an everyday thing that is done in the continent. And if you really think about the economic impact of that role modeling is going to fuel much more growth than we even ever thought about.
Today we're currently about 30 people, and I'm proud to say we are 85% women and young women at that. For us to have built that, and I'm obviously proud to have built an organization that's majority women. I consider us a women-run business, right? If you look at the market that we're in and the kind of solutions that we provide, right? These are household utilities, essential utilities, right? And at the end of the day, if you really look at it, majority of the homes are being run by women, right? So we're serving women, right? And so what better way or business to have than to actually have the women who are still in those homes actually doing and running the business?
What have been some of the challenges that you guys have faced along the way, and maybe how have you solved them?
Just getting warehouses, right, is a big challenge, right? Because you're trying to think about, okay, I want to serve a certain radius of miles or kilometers. So I need to place these warehouses in a place that they can be able to do that, right? Now, you're not gonna get somebody sitting there waiting for you with a warehouse. So, so you have to kind of figure out, keep looking, and then sometimes you look and the landlord in that space might have a problem with the storage of, say, cooking gas there, or they might have a problem with the cost of rent. We might have a problem with that because we need to still take care of the operational costs that then make sense, right? So there's so many things in just finding a warehouse that when we start now upgrading to bigger ones, it even becomes a challenge because of finding again the location. It fits with everything. We have to think about inbound logistics because the person coming in with cooking gas needs a space to park, right? And if you go into maybe a hilly place, these things are bulky, right? If it's too hilly, then it means that the truck cannot come in. If you go into a narrow place, it means that the big trucks, like for example, Coke uses that, and Coke is one of our partners. They can't get in. So that whole thing of figuring out where to get those micro warehouses and place them in the right place is by itself has been a significant challenge. And of course, next to that is dealing with our, county officials, right? Because we have to at the end of the day, right? Okay. So how do we navigate that in a very clean, honest way and still make sure we come out with our business being intact, right? That's something we have to keep dealing with as we open up more micro warehouses.
The one thing that I would say was challenging and actually has built me is you learn to literally you have to solve problems. When the buck stops with you, it's not like you can just go home and leave it to the other senior manager who's more senior than you are. So you have to. I remember around 2020, which was, we call it our dark years. Yeah. And that was the time that I mentioned we had to pivot the business. We were kind of still trying to figure out COVID and all of that. It was just a dark time. And I remember one, actually it was an investor who came and said to us, So we're really having a really tough time. And you're looking and you're not even sure how you're going to make payroll. So he says to us, you know what, you guys are going to have to let the people know that you're gonna need to let them go. You're gonna need to shut down, because it's like, and I think it was that moment where, from their perspective, you needed to shut down and you need to tell people to go home. And I don't think Peter and I had even seen that as a possibility, even though it was there. It's just that I don't think we were even ready to confront that. But the minute he said that, he was like, you're going to need to do that, and you're going to need to do it very soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're like facing this situation where it's real and you're about to go tell people. And I think that really woke us up into like, okay, it's not happening, right? But then what are you going to do about it, right? So the decision is, what are you going to do if you're not going to tell people that you're shutting down tomorrow? What are you going to actually do about that, right? And so that kind of actually woke us up. We pivoted the business. It really was a waking up call, right? So what I'm saying is, you have to solve for things consistently. There's nobody else to solve things for you. So it is difficult, because sometimes you're also taking burden. And it does also mean you also have less time for things. You might be on a weekend and you have to pick a phone call up. Those things exist. You do have to ultimately figure out how to balance those. And I think those were some of the challenges to start with. I'm not saying that I'm even perfect now at it, but I've gotten better. You get better at knowing what you need to do, what's the most important, what you can let go, because you can't really control everything. So it's a gradual. You mature gradually into those things.
And it's beautiful to have like two founders, like you have each other. When you talk to sole founders, they always say like, at some point, making the decisions, it's like, just trust your gut. And it's for you can go to each other. But what happens when you both hit rock bottom?
We actually sometimes in the same entrepreneurial ecosystems. We'll have some groups, some of them are in WhatsApp groups. And we will talk, and even some of the investors have been very, very helpful. We go speak to them about problem we are having, and they jump on it, and they'll be, they'll definitely come have some solution. And ultimately, it's our decision to make on how we want to move forward.
So one of the mistakes that I would say I made earlier on was to think about it as a transaction. So where you talk to somebody and you're kind of like expecting a transaction out of that, right? It doesn't happen that way, right? In fact, the more focus you put on developing a relationship with the investors over time, and then being able to understand what you do, being able to follow and see that, hey, actually what you say is what you deliver. Over time, that gives confidence. And maybe that investor might not be a fit because, for whatever reason, maybe, they're looking at certain things for their portfolio that, maybe your company doesn't match. Doesn't mean that that particular investor can't actually open doors for you to something else. So my biggest mistake earlier on, that was a frustration, was kind of looking at it from a transaction and talking from one person and, is there a check or not? I think that also kind of, over time, it actually even becomes visible that that's kind of what you're doing, but that's not really how it works. So you learn that over time.
We can't also underestimate the power of prayer, right? Just saying a prayer about something that is bothering you helps a lot in kind of calming down yourself and trusting that you actually don't know, as Lesley said, what you don't know. You see, there are things you might know that you don't know, but there are a lot of things we deal with at the front end of the growth of a venture like this. You actually don't know what you don't know. And so sometimes you just have to trust that somehow God will find a way. And actually putting that burden out and living out to be figured out, and for that decision to be, supported through faith, actually is very helpful. And I must admit that I hadn't seen that maybe 4 years ago. But the more I practice it, the more I feel much more calm.
We've also had some faith-based investors who I think have been very, very instrumental in just grounding us as a business, because there's a tendency, of course, in a startup environment, and let's say you also venture backed, right? There's a lot of pressure for growth, and not to say that the faith-based don't have pressure for growth, but they intentionally make time to allow us to have our prayers, allow us to just be grounded, allow us to think about what our cause is, what our purpose is, and because it's kind of intentionally that they've carved out this part of how you should be thinking about that through whether it's your business or whatever it is, or your personal life. It really brings an element that just allows us to be. It really just gives us that opportunity to be grounded and just have some, some. I don't know what we're just even appreciate what God has given you to be able to do what you're able to do today.
What's that one thing that you really hope your business will do or achieve?
I think 5 years from now, we hope to serve at least 1 million families across the continent. They are safe from explosions, they are safe from bad drinking water, and then they still get the convenience that they need as their lives become busy in the bustling cities of this continent as it continues to expand. That would be amazing.
To the young entrepreneur, I say be bold, be resilient, fail fast, and learn a lot from others.
As you begin your journey, just know that markets take time to develop. All new markets do, because they don't exist, and that's why you are building for them. So take time to know that what you're starting to build might not have a significant market in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. So therefore, patience is very, very important. And so because of that, you need to align the way you think about growth and the way markets develop. Don't buy into the idea that you can grow at any cost, because that doesn't work.